afternoon to everybody. Today we are discussing something regarding the support system or the structures, roller support and hinge support. And today we are discussing the benefits of the roller support or hinge support. Let us see basics. Here is a sketch of a hinge support. This is a sketch for a roller support. This is a beam. And perhaps this sketch is indicating the capabilities, plus points, minus points, etc. for the hinge support or roller support. Hinge support will be capable of taking any kind of a load going in any direction. Let the load go downwards, upwards, inclined, right hand side, left hand side, no problem. Hinge support is capable of preventing the dislocation of the beam in any direction. Dislocation. It can definitely prevent. So if one support is looking like this, a secondary support given on the other side, I think everything will be answered over here. And if I see, this structure is lesser complex, lesser costly. Maybe the capabilities, if I see from loading point of view, are definitely larger here. But if I watch, what is this one? Lower support. I think the figure itself is telling that the structure is going to be little more complex. This structure will be having two parallel plates overlapping like this. In between the space, the structure end will be inserted. In the overlapping area, a hole will be created, a pin will be passed, and then the structure is ready. But here, what do I want? Same two plates, same structure end inserted, same drilling hole, same pin, but below, I want some series of hard metallic rollers and a flat rolling plane. Flat rolling plane. Definitely this is going to be more costly, more complex. Now capabilities, let us see. That load which is going directly perpendicular to the rolling plane and towards the rolling plane can be answered by this support. But suppose the load is inclined, horizontal or lifting load, I think this is beyond capability. The support will fail to give a reaction in that condition. And suppose I have on both the ends of the beam the same kind of a loading condition, the beam will be looking like a trolley. It will move here and there. It will never remain in static condition. So what we see, what we do is that we create a pair of supports and then the pair generates all the particular positive conditions. The most famous pair from the academic point of view, let us discuss from academic side. Academic point of view is one hinge support on one side, one roller support on the other side. Hinge support takes care of the particular dislocation, and the roller support is even taking care of the rotation. So it is the most famous pair. Then one wonders that rather than providing a little costly or incapable support on the other side, why we not go for the same support on the other side, hinge support on both the sides, but that is never done, even at the academic books. But why it is not done at the academic books? Isn't it something different? Suppose I have hinge support and roller support on the other side and some loading, and I am going to solve for the support reactions. Then I can see that hardly three unknowns are getting generated. Support reactions, and I am having hardly three equations exactly. Three equations, three unknowns, situations, balancing. So we can solve that thing. But suppose we create a problem where on both the sides we are having hinge supports, then four unknowns come into picture to be solved, but the equations are hardly three. So the problem becomes of an indeterminate kind to be solved. And that is the reason why at academics we don't see that particular combination. We never see a combination hinge support on one side, hinge support on the other side. Okay, this is the academic reason. What about profession? In the profession, do we have the same reason? Perhaps no. In the profession, the reason for having hinge support on the other one side, roller on the other side is something different, completely different. Today we are going to be seeing. And then we'll get the answer regarding this roller support having these many kind of a minus points. Still, why we are preferring? What is the exact benefit it is offering from the professional point of view, working point of view? Let us see that. So, for the sake of argument, to start with, I am imagining here a particular structure, simple beam, and let us go with the argument first of all. That is, this structure is having on both the sides the most capable, the most cost-effective supports, that is hinge supports. Okay. Let us not talk about the loading this and that. Let us talk about a very simple thing which comes into picture before loading. The structure is getting constructed. Let us imagine that the beam is having a length of 5 meters. Now when the structure is put in operation, that loading will talk about other thing, but one thing is definitely the structure is exposed to, and that is the temperature changes, seasonal changes in temperature. Winter temperature something different, summer temperature something different, or night temperature something different, day temperature something different. Within a night and a day, the temperature difference will not be much at a particular location, hardly 15-20 degrees. But suppose I see summer, winter temperature fluctuations, they can be quite large. At some extreme places, the temperature difference in the summer season, winter season can be from 10 degree to 45 degree or 5 degree to 45 degrees Celsius. It will be huge one. Let us not go for that extreme. Let us imagine a little one, lesser one. Let us imagine a temperature difference or temperature fluctuation of, let us say, 30 degrees Celsius. Now everybody knows, if a beam, that too a metallic beam, is subjected to temperature changes, then right from school we are given information. When the temperature gets raised, the structure expands or the atom expands, and when it is cooled down, it contracts. And all that expansion and contraction is governed by the thermal coefficient. Thermal coefficient of expansion contraction. Let us assume here that thermal coefficient is 12 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 6, so many millimeter per millimeter length per degree Celsius change, temperature change. Okay, now this data assumed here, let us work out here that when the temperature in the winter and summer carries this much of a difference, maybe 10 degrees Celsius in the particular winter season and 40 degrees Celsius in the summer season, then what variation in the length of 5 meters we are expecting? Let us see that first of all. So if I go for the calculations, I can see here the expected change in length. Expected change in length, now we will be working out as equal to this temperature coefficient, that is 12 into 10 raised to minus 6, multiplied by the temperature change, because the temperature coefficient relates to per degree Celsius. So 30 degree is the temperature change. And again I have to account for the length. Now the length will be 5 meter or 5,000 millimeter. Now this amounts to around 1.8 millimeter. 1.8 millimeter in 5 meters, one will tend to neglect that part. So simple, so fun. Forget about it. 5 meters is my original length. Why to bother about 1.8 millimeter? But see here, suppose this 1.8 millimeter likely expansion or contraction is prevented, then what happens? Prevention. If the thing is prevented, then a strain comes into picture. The strain will be nothing but equal to the prevented length under expansion contraction divided by the original length, 1.8 upon 5, and this will be equal to 0.00036 millimeter per millimeter strain. And as we know, when strain comes into picture, stress comes into picture. So due to all this prevention of expansion contraction, the stress due to all the things to be prevented here will be automatically equal to the strain into the Young's modulus. Let me take that also for granted. Modulus of elasticity. Let us record this modulus of elasticity as a 2 multiplied by 10 raised to 5 newtons per millimeter square. Okay, that also done. And then I come to the calculation. Now this will be equal to 0.00036 into 2 multiplied by 10 raised to 5, so many newtons per millimeter square. Now I am getting here a figure which is not ignorable figure. Answer comes to be equal to 72 newtons per millimeter square. I wonder whether my calculations are right. I check back whether everything is right in proper order. I think one mistake I made here, that is the thermal coefficient, rather than 12 into 10 raised to minus 6, I have written here as plus 6. I noted the minus sign, pardon me for that. Anyway, I think the results are not different. Same results. 72 Newton per millimeter square. See now what is happening. There is no load on the structure. Only temperature changes. That change in the temperature is either trying to expand the beam or contract the beam. How much? Hardly 1.8 millimeters in 5,000 millimeters. One will say, forget about that, ignore that. But that creates a stress equal to 72 newtons per millimeter square. This is called as the thermal stress. And idea behind thermal stress is very preventive, very simple. It says that if some expansion or contraction is allowed in the length or in the volume or anywhere here and there, then there is no strain, no stress. But suppose the expansion or contraction is prevented by the structure, then all of a sudden that stress comes into the picture. And this stress is normally ignored by the designers. Designers talk about the load, designers talk about the shear force diagram, bending moment diagram, they talk about the shear stress, bending stress, combination. But what about this? Ignored. And I understand lot many times when we go for the professional level problems, our permissible stress for the beam material will be hardly 70-80 Newton per millimeter square. And out of that 70-80 Newton per millimeter square permissible stress, if this is 72, then what is the scope for the loading? Almost no scope. Nothing. Due to this stress only my beam will fail. So what is to be done professionally? Cut off this thing. Cut off the likely expansion contraction. And who can do this cutting off of likely expansion contraction? Now this is the thing which comes to SQ. Here, rather than the particular hinge support, suppose I provide here, see here, a roller support. Then what is done by the roller support? In absence of my attention, in the winter season, this support will be slowly going inside. How much? 1.8 millimeter. In the summer season, the same support will be slowly coming outside. How much? 1.8 millimeter. I am not expecting this roller support to roll here and there 25-30 times in a day. Never. I am expecting it to roll hardly with one oscillation in a year. It is capable of doing this thing. And if it does this thing, then perhaps this stress is completely cut off from the situation. So in summary, the roller support, what is doing primarily is cutting off the thermal stresses. Completely prevented. Not allowed to come into situation. And that is the benefit. These stresses are completely cut off. Now one can safely design the beam from loading point of view. Now let us discuss shear forces, bending moments, shear stresses, bending stresses completely out. This is a great utility or benefit of roller support. When this is discussed at CAD/CAM Guru, our institute, and when students are given all this knowledge, they come out with us remark every time same thing. Oh, really? We are not knowing this. Thank you.